Welcome back, friends. Today I have a very special guest, Madeleine Conti. She is a kettlebell hello. She's a kettlebell coach and the founder of BellFest, which is a biannual traveling event known for world-class kettlebell coaching and an inclusive community-driven vibe. With over a decade of experience and a loyal following through her kettlebell club community. That was a tongue twister. Madeleine blends strength, storytelling, and connection to empower people to move well and lift heavy. Welcome, Madeleine. You go by
Thank you
Maddie.
so much. I do go by Maddie, or apparently Megamind with these headphones on.
Megamind, I love that. Let's share with
They're
the audience.
huge.
Oh, I prefer it when it's big like that because it has a retro
Yeah,
feel.
it does.
Um,
It does.
let's share with the audience because I don't know if everyone knows what BellFest is. Even for me, it was newer when I heard about it last year,
Yeah.
and it's been longer than 2 years. So tell us what BellFest is.
BellFest is, first of all, the most fun that you've ever had. Once you go, you'll understand what I mean. It is like a big family reunion for people that happen to be obsessed with kettlebells, but mostly just love connecting with people that have similar goals as them with their fitness, but also with just connecting with people. I think that especially since COVID, we have realized how important it is to connect with other humans. We work all day, we're with our families constantly, and we're in that same group of 10 to 15 people. We never really branch out. So I think getting out of your comfort zone, going and doing something hard for an entire weekend, and like finding that grit in you that you maybe didn't know that you had, alongside other people that are doing the same, is just so cool. It's like adult summer camp
It is like
for
adult
two and a
summer
half
camp.
days. So it is, it features usually 20 to 30 kettlebell coaches teaching
Mm-hmm.
all different styles of kettlebell training. And then for the attendees, you do not technically have to have any experience with the kettlebell to come to BellFest. We have plenty of beginner classes throughout the weekend. They do tend to get more advanced by the end of the weekend, but there's no pressure to do all of the classes. I would say the majority of people do like samplings. They'll do a class or two, and then they'll go walk around the vendor village. They'll hop in the cold plunge. They'll grab a bite to eat, and then they'll come back for a class that they're really interested in. Some of them are more workshop style, where we're learning one skill and we're sitting and listening to the instructor for a while for more of a seated seminar. So it's a lot of different things throughout the weekend, lots of different education going on, obviously, but I have seen some of the most incredible friendships bud from this particular weekend, especially from our very first event in Atlanta in September 2023. That was the start of something that I don't think any of us could have predicted, which was just that we have become a 500-piece family.
I think before I went, I felt intimidated, thinking that, oh my gosh, how am I going to be able to do that many workouts continuously? And that's important for people to know that you kind of pick and choose. There's a schedule of events. It actually made me think of almost like going to a conference, right?
Yeah.
Where you see the schedule of all the speakers, like which one, and then you decide which ones you want to go try and learn from. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's important for people to know. You don't have to do everything. You get to decide what you want to do.
Yes, you pick your journey through the weekend. If you are in my shoes, you end up doing about 10% of maybe 3 or 4 classes. And then the rest of the time, you're just running around like a chicken with your head cut off. But I think everyone else there.
It's like planning a wedding.
Totally. It is like planning a wedding. Whenever that happens for me, I will not be planning my own. Confirmed.
I think what's notable about this event, I think what stuck out in my mind is we've both been in the kettlebell community, and pretty much all the certifications. I don't know if there's even a kettlebell event, but anything that's kettlebell education related, it's always run by a man, and it is a very male-dominant industry, but it's like many industries. And the fact that you created this, and I thought about this today, it definitely has a different feel than if a guy had decided to organize it, like the feeling, right? It's almost more welcoming because women and men feel welcome because I don't know how to say, it's not bro-ish, if that's the right.
Yeah. And I mean, Honestly, I will say, I think it comes down to the way that the event planner just tends to be, like personally. I am,
Hmm.
you can ask my boyfriend, I'm a crier, I'm a hugger, I'm a people person. And so when I think of this event, I'm like, what do I want them to feel throughout the weekend? And what do I want them to
Hmm.
remember? And I will say, of course, they're going to remember PRs that they set and
Hmm.
hard workouts that they do and a new skill that they learn. But technically, we could do that in any workout. I think
Yeah.
remembering, like, also, I did it next to one of my best friends who I only get to see twice a year because we live on the other side of the country. And
Hmm.
also, I got to learn more about these coaches in the coaches panel. And I didn't know that this one, has had a journey through breast cancer, and this one lost a family member the other year, and like that is what inspired her journey. And I think those are the things that really stick with people way
Yeah.
more than the PRs. And
Yes.
yeah, it could absolutely be that I am the female and I'm probably like on the scale of like how female I am. I'm like quintessential girly pop. I do love those tear jerking moments. Like I seek them out kind of throughout my life. I think it's like really important to have those moments that help you remember, like, we're all having the human experience together and we're just doing the best that we can. And I think when a workshop or conference can bring that out of you, and especially out of an entire crowd, there's definitely something special happening. So
Because it's not
yeah,
just about the education. What people leave educational weekends, what they remember most is the people they met and the connections
absolutely.
they made, which is really
Yeah.
nice because in a certification, you only see that person for that weekend and you never see it again. But here, you're bringing everyone back together twice a year. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, so now that we know how great, why we all enjoy it, what was it that inspired you to, that even how it germinated in your mind and what inspired the creation of this?
Yeah. I I'm trying to remember exactly the moment that inspired it, but I will say there was an Instagram story that I put up where I don't remember what made it all come about, but I just said, why don't we all get together and teach a class, like teach all of our classes under the same roof for a weekend? And I tagged probably 20 or so different, as many as Instagram would let me, 20 different kettlebell coaches. That ended up becoming the starting lineup for the the Atlanta event, because they all came back and said, yes, why aren't we doing this? And I was like, all right, let me put my type A hat on and I'll get to work. But I also had hosted a class, or a workshop rather, in Los Angeles, August 2022, I think is right.
Um,
Yeah, I think it's 2022. It was about a year before the first BellFest. And it was so much work to bring 17 people together to do a 4-hour workshop. And I remember feeling very excited, but also like sort of defeated, just because it was so much, way more legwork than it needed to be for a 4-hour workshop.
mhm.
And just thinking like that, all of that planning could have served me and 4 or 5 other coaches to teach classes throughout the day. And we could have had 100 people here, like, easily. My thought was, well, why don't I just go ahead and do that? I'm already
Mhm.
doing the work. Why not just go ahead and do
Yeah,
it for 5 other coaches, let alone 25 other coaches? And that's sort of how it was born. That, and like, I will say I caught a lot of heat for my kettlebell flow program when it first launched
oh,
from the
really?
hardstyle community. And
Gosh.
I love hardstyle. So it was like kind of sad, but at the same time, I was like, it's not everyone. It couldn't be.
Mhm.
There's no
Mhm.
way that everyone is the same. Like, that's silly to
Yes.
even believe for a moment. So my thought was, maybe this community or this event weekend can help the all the people come together who are open to learning the other styles and appreciating them for what they are, and maybe
Yeah.
even convert some people too, to being more open-minded about
Mhm.
like picking up a competition style kettlebell and doing, a long cycle for 5 minutes.
Which is a long,
So
that sounds so,
it's a
so
very
long.
long time.
Yeah, not letting
Yeah.
go of that kettlebell.
Watching Dennis do that to start the day Sunday. Were you there for that session?
I came in when he was in mid-session.
Okay, mid-set. Okay. It was incredible. I mean, I think those were 32s at one point that he was doing for many minutes. And I'm in awe of his strength. It's not surprising that he made it so far into the competition and think he placed second out of everyone with no training for that competition.
Wow. And for anyone listening, she's talking about 32 kilo a piece, which is like 65 something pounds.
I think it's
70 per hand.
70.5 per
Okay, 70.5 per
kettlebell.
hand. So
Yeah.
not letting go of that for 5 minutes
Clean
and
and
doing an
press.
exercise.
Yeah.
Oh, and a clean and press.
Squat clean to overhead press. Yeah. Wild. And then just resting in the rack and then going right back to it for 5 minutes in a row. Blows my mind.
5 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a
different
long
kind
time.
of strength. It's
a different kind of strength.
My God. Yeah.
So that's how the first one kind of came together. Like you had an event, and I understand like when you organize anything, it does take a lot of time. So
it does.
Like, why not just make it bigger for the amount of people that could come? And then the Atlanta ones, that was an event you had done in LA. Then the Atlanta one was your first BellFest.
My first BellFest, yes. So it was my first stab at doing something that I was organizing for anyone's classes but my own. I had done plenty of just my weekly Atlanta kettlebell class. We'd have 30 or 40 people come to that. And I think having a lot of people show up. Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think having a lot of people show up for a one-time class is awesome. Having them show up on a recurring basis is really cool. That definitely means that you've got something good going there. And I think that's what made me kind of go out on the limb and take on that risk. Because I was like, I know I can do it on a weekly basis. What's twice the people, but with like a superstar lineup and hopefully people flying in from around the country. And then people flew in from around the world. So it worked out. It certainly went way better than anticipated. I don't think any of us really knew what to expect. And that's probably why it was so great, because it just exceeded anything we would have imagined.
It's almost like an experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. We couldn't
Without
fail.
any expectation. I like that. Yeah.
I kept it really lean. It didn't cost that much. It was just the gym space, obviously paying the coaches, and I did minimal merch. And that was it. I had food donated. We didn't have any vendors. We just bare bones. And it was so great. Wouldn't change a thing,
That's fantastic.
So naturally, I changed a lot of things.
Well, you get feedback and you think about what you want to make better.
So
what were, for anyone who's thinking about doing some kind of it, what are some of the biggest challenges that you had when you did the first or even the second one?
Yeah. Let's see. Going into the first, I think not throwing in the towel in the planning stage of it, because I was starting to predict okay, it's going to be $4,000 for the gym and it's going to cost this for the merch, and seeing the numbers adding up. And I was like, okay, I hope that everyone will feel excited to try to get their friends to come to this event. But what if everyone expects me to do all of the selling? And that was a little scary. But I knew that I could if I needed to, because I've always proven to myself that I'll show up and get the work done, no matter what. So I think that was a big thing. Just trusting that I knew that I would figure it out either way. Probably another reason why I just didn't make it that expensive. I didn't want to add in too many variables to make it unnecessarily complicated. But honestly, for the first event, I also I realized pretty quickly if you don't delegate enough tasks, you'll like completely miss out on the experience yourself, and then you won't get to see how cool it is. So luckily I had like a really good group of friends in Atlanta that were like, give us things to do and we will do them so that you can actually immerse yourself. So we had like 20 helpers going into the setup, which was amazing. Probably more helpers than any other city just because all my friends live here. And yeah, I mean, like, I'm honestly having a hard time thinking of hurdles that I ran into because it wasn't that complicated of an event. It got more complicated once we traveled it.
which I'm going to ask you about.
Yeah. So,
You know what?
you said going into the second event, like
Mhm.
the biggest change was obviously taking it on the road. And we went
Yes.
to Dallas, which
It's not close
not
from
close.
Atlanta, where you're based.
Yeah. It has a special place in my heart, though, that event, because I was worried that Atlanta was just a fluke, like a
Mhm.
one-off fun thing that no one had heard of. And they were like, yeah, I mean, I think the ticket was like $150. And
Oh, wow,
they're
it's
like,
cheap.
we'll go. And like Atlanta's cheap to fly into and to get a hotel. So for
Mhm.
$500, you can have this whole experience for the weekend. And so I was like, what if they don't want to hop on a plane again 6 months later, 5 months later, however, I think it was 6 months. But we had 40 more people show up for that event.
Oh,
So
wow.
it
Yeah.
was like, okay, this thing has legs. Hopefully
Yep.
it'll continue to have legs for every 6 months. And it has. But I think Dallas in particular, like, exposed all of the weaknesses of this budding business.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the the expectations of people tend to shift when they see something doing well. The ask
Uh-huh.
for money goes up. And I am so grateful to say that did not apply to the majority of people that were working with us, but it did to some, and that hurts a little bit because we weren't in the position to be paying anyone more.
Mhm.
um, and I was worried it would kind of like make people miss the point of the event. It's not supposed to be a big money maker. It's supposed to be like, again, the family reunion
Mhm.
combined with giving a stage to coaches that absolutely deserve to showcase their coaching skills. And I will say, as a kettlebell coach, I was never really given that opportunity, for, I think, especially because I found kettlebells kind of in my own way, and I hadn't done a certification through any of like the schools of training that you'd maybe expect. And
Yep.
so I kind of felt like the oddball, like, black sheep. And
Mhm.
I was like, I kind of want to find those other people that feel that way.
Yeah.
So I was hoping we'd like maintain that same feeling and narrative like throughout all of the events, and it wouldn't turn into a power trip, I need 10 grand to stand on the stage kind of thing. And like it certainly hasn't.
Mhm.
But I will make sure it doesn't. Like it's such a sacred space for all of us that I'm like, whatever we need to do to keep it that homegrown family feeling, I will do. And that is why like having one-on-one calls with everyone who applies to coach is huge. Having the prerequisite of being an attendee at the event first before coaching is huge.
That
Like,
makes sense for
yeah,
them to be
now
able to
it
get the
probably makes
feeling.
even more sense now. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are plenty of incredible coaches who have expressed interest. They don't want to be attendees. And
They just wanna come and coach.
right. And
Mhm.
so they won't coach because
Mhm.
I won't change that rule
Mhm.
for people because then the whole thing is a fraud, you know?
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about, I don't want to say humbling yourself, but like kind of being humble enough to like being aware that we're all still students. There's always something to learn from someone else,
Mm-hmm.
even if they have less experience than you or fewer years in the coaching game. It does not
Yeah.
mean that they don't have a unique thought that they can teach you about how to work with the bell. And I don't know. I think like being able to absorb those unique perspectives from other people and be like, wow, that really made me think of something from an angle that I've never thought of it before. And,
Yeah.
I'm going to take that home with me. And, maybe it's a hard style girly learning how to juggle for the first time,
Uh-huh.
like that's, it's so fun to watch it happen at BellFest. And I think it's hard. Oh, I forgot that you're
Sorry.
going through some
Yeah.
sickness. Oh, you okay?
Yeah. I was trying not to cough in the
Oh, you're fine. No,
mic.
you're good. But no, I think that that's why it's so special to like be an attendee first, because then it's like, oh, now it makes sense. And
Yep.
oh, now I see why I might not be able to have my own class on this specific thing, because it kind of makes more sense to think about the collective. Like, how can all 30 coaches make sure all of these things are covered throughout the weekend? Like, someone else is
Mm-hmm.
already teaching the Turkish get up. I'm going to let her own that because she does it in a really cool way. And I know her personally now because I met her in Miami, BellFest, like
Mm-hmm.
there's something to be said about everyone kind of already knowing each other and knowing most of each other going into the planning stages of BellFest. So letting a superstar like, I'll only coach, not attend, it just doesn't vibe with
I
the
really like
weekend.
that. I don't know if you call it ethics or whatever, but the approach that makes a lot of sense. I was actually
Yeah.
very curious when you said, I know the traditional route. I probably did that in my kettlebell training. What's your untraditional route to kettlebells?
I, the only kettlebell certification that I hold is FKT. And I went to that certification. It didn't even process that was the only one that I had been to until the event or the certification weekend was done. I've just done so many one-on-one sessions with coaches that over the
Mm-hmm.
years I've been like, hey, I'm in your city. Can I book a session with you to learn X, Y, and Z? And I used to do that all the time, like pre-COVID.
Oh, I love that.
2000,
That's so great.
2017 through 19 were like
Mhm.
my on it years where I was going to Austin like very regularly. And anytime I was there, I was booking a few sessions with their durability coaches and steel mace and kettlebell and animal flow. And I was just like so into it. I think it was a lot of things that came together, but I had a bad hip injury that from 2013 to 17 was really bothering me. I don't really know what caused it, but I do know what inflamed it. And it's my true love, Olympic weightlifting, really like lit my hip on fire. And I was like, I was 25. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't possibly have a hip injury at 25, but especially one that's going to like stick around for a long time. But animal flow and kettlebell training made it feel so much better. Now I know it's like that unilateral load and like going to a fuller range of motion and just kind of greasing the groove in a different way than like heavy load, explosive, jarring stuff all the time. It was just the missing links to my training, but I was like, I'm hooked. And I think also I finally connected with people that love to move in like the unconventional ways that I preferred to the gym that I worked in at the time that was very like, it's got to be a bodybuilding exercise or it's got to be golf functional fitness and nothing in between. Like we serve the C-suite guys and that's it. And I was
Wow.
like, I like to slam a barbell and I like to crawl on the ground. Like I would like to find a place that accepts me for who I am. So it's been a lot of embracing that over the last few years. But yeah, like studying, just doing one-on-one sessions with those coaches and learning from them and kind of like just piecing what I've gotten to know together, like downloading their knowledge and um,
That makes
not
sense.
getting
It's almost
letters.
getting a lot of certs at one time
Yeah,
because the
in a
cert is only a
way.
weekend, and you were getting a lot of one-on-one time
Yeah.
with these experts.
Yeah. I mean, I was basically taking the bits and pieces that they found the most useful and practical from whatever certifications they had taken, and I was learning it through them. And I mean, I think there's something to be said about the clients that we train end up being incredible movers and probably great teachers as well, because we've done the same with them. We're like, okay, we've done all
Hmm.
of this research. Here's what you really need to know.
Filtering
And
it down, yes.
correct. So enough of that, and it probably adds up to a certification itself. But yeah, it was cool actually going through a cert weekend, and now I've got the piece of paper to prove it that I'm a
I
kettlebell.
like
I'm a kettlebell coach. It was
the funny thing is most people don't like most clients don't care like what cert you have.
no,
It's about your how you teach them and your connection with them.
totally. And I had 3 years of weekly kettlebell classes under my belt at that point, and um, I had my program on a couple platforms at that point, and I had my first BellFest, and then I got my kettlebell certification. So it's like nothing. I had the baby before the marriage, kind of. There
And
is no correct order. You do you, girl. That was basically how I approached all of that.
and the one you picked was perfect because I like how Cliff's very also open-minded about there's no like some of the traditional ones it's like a wrong way and a right way and there's not a
Yeah.
wrong way or right way. It's like what's going to work best for the person.
Yeah. And I kind of meditated on it after the fact and was like, why did I choose to go to this over doing any other kettlebell certification? And honestly,
Hmm.
I think I felt intimidated going into any of the other ones. Um, Not that it would be hard, but I think I
Hmm.
was nervous that people would question why I didn't already have that certification to begin with. If I had a
Hmm.
program or an event and so I just kind of like shied away from it. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, I think that's what was going on. Now I'm like, I would love to do that. I would love to like put that on my as my ikigai or my what is the term? Your like big goal for the year. There is a term
Do
for
you-
it. It's fine. I'll think of it after the podcast.
Okay.
But
Send it to me and I'll
my
add it in later.
yeah, exactly, right? Like a little AI voice with the proper name. But yeah, I think it'd be fun to start like having a performance goal like that with a target date and like a
Hmm.
test date. I think that's what would be the most fun to train for, is something that's just going to be really physically challenging.
Hmm.
And yeah, to have like all of the course material leading up to like give me those different ways of looking at different exercises and how to teach them and how to get more out of myself. And um but I do also get so much of that out of the BellFest weekend. So it's like
I think you're getting
yeah.
like you said it's the filtered down all the best of the best.
Yeah. Which is why it's heading in the direction it's heading, with it being like more and more of an educational weekend over just fun workouts.
So I wanted to ask you about, I know you took your second one to Dallas. I think we've talked about it, but I'd love for you to share. Why do you pick the cities that you do versus like New York City,
Yeah.
cities that have a lot of kettlebell studios?
So I settled on kind of like tier two cities pretty early on. Not going into the first event, I just picked Atlanta because I live here.
Hmm.
But a lot of people came up to me in the final couple hours of the event in Atlanta. Um, which was September 2023. And they were like, bring it to New York. There were a lot of people saying, bring it to New York. It's like, my worry is if I hold the event in New York, I'm going to hold it in Brooklyn or in Harlem, and someone in the Lower East Side is going to say, well, that's not convenient for me, so I'm not going to be there. But if I put it in Miami, they'll hop on a plane. So I was like, there's that, but then there's also,
How do you know us New York
how do I know
people
New York
so
is that well? Well, both of my sisters lived in New York. So I do know I don't want to go across the bridge.
100% people. Ever since I moved to Jersey City, people they think it's so far away.
You come to me, I don't want to come to you. Yeah. But I mean, I think the other thing is New York has such cool events, like hundreds of them to pick from every weekend. And I know Atlanta very well because I've lived here my whole life, and we never have cool events. So like when High Rocks came here, everyone was stoked and surprised, and they were like, oh my gosh, we've got to like drop everything and go to that. Of course, it was the same weekend as one of my BellFests, so I was very sad about that. But it just goes to show like we just aren't used to getting events like that here. So I wanted to pick other cities that might be the case for. I would say Miami is probably the only one that doesn't apply to. I wanted to cater to our kettlebell supplier at the time, Vlad, and also our photographer, videographer for the event, Renato. He does such an incredible job, and he had been getting on a plane for all the events. So I was like, we're gonna come to you guys, okay? We'll make it a little easier on you. But Dallas, Rebecca Rouse and Joel Rosario came up to me after the event, and they were like, we have the perfect gym space for you if you would like it. And they showed me, and I was like, that's kind of perfect. Let's talk this week. And we nailed it down. We had it like pretty much planned like by the end of that day. And then we just kind of like finalized details later that week. But that's how most of these ones happen, is like either during the event weekend or soon after it. I'll get a lot of messages like, look at my gym space and maybe consider it. And I don't know. I think the tier 2 cities also are a little less expensive to travel to. And I just think like it just makes it a little more accessible for everyone to get to. And also maybe are cities they're not thinking of going to. I would argue that most people have been to New York, but like maybe not Denver. And I love Denver. Any excuse to go to Denver, I'm searching for. So yeah,
or
that
even
was
this
kind of
year in the fall, Nashville, which is not top of my list, but I was like, oh, this gives me a good excuse to go there.
Exactly. So that's kind of the idea there. And we will, I'm sure, have New York at some point. I'm sure we'll have LA. But I just think there's also so many other cool cities in the country that I'm like, such a great excuse for all of us to go explore it and add it to our list of places we've been. So yeah, that's kind of,
I know you kind of covered it, but I would love for you to explain why you would create that much more work for yourself by doing it twice a year versus once a year. Because most people will just do an annual BellFest.
Yeah. Yes. Well, first of all, the intention was to just do it once. And I remember Danielle Gertner, our MC at that first event, was like saying the closing messages to everyone. And she's like, Maddie's got a few things to say, hands the mic to me. And I'm like, this is scary. I am not good on the mic. And like in that moment, it was just like so overwhelming. I was like, we're doing this again. And it's going to be sooner than a year from now. Like, there's no way we're going to make it to a year. And I was like, crap, I got to figure that out now. But I just was like, I just can't imagine going a year without seeing these people and doing this again. And 6 months, I think if you're not the one doing the planning, does feel like a long time.
Yes.
I think it also not to be like selfish with the event, but I didn't really want it to, I didn't want it to get taken. Like I wanted, I was like, this went so well. I'm so worried that someone with like the wrong goals for this type of event could like dig their talons into it and create a spin-off of it and make it horrible. And
Yeah.
I was like, I really don't mind doing the planning. If it serves everyone well to do this again every 6 months, like let's keep doing it. And so far, so good. And I think having the rotating lineup too, at least half of the coaches always being new faces,
Hmm.
helps that a lot. If it was the same lineup every time, it'd grow a little stale. I
Yeah.
love everyone dearly, but like, I think
That makes
that
sense
is a
for
big
anyone
part of
coming
it.
in, especially if someone's coming back, 'cause I definitely, met fans or people that have been to all of it. Like
Yeah.
Veronica has been to all of them.
Yes. Uh
I
huh.
met her at
It's
the
becoming a
Denver
thing
one.
now. I mean, the fact that it's going to be their fifth time
Mhm.
coming to an event, and a lot of those people have also taken every class in some portion of every class, which is wild. And I know that that streak is in their head. They're like, I can't break the streak. Like I got to keep going if it works out,
So
which
that makes
is
sense
just
having
so
a
cool.
half of the coaches be a new rotation, bringing their own, spin to it, their
Yeah.
own style.
Yeah.
Um, what would you like people to know about Belfast that haven't been there yet?
I want you to know that it is not an intimidating place to learn and grow and meet people. Like that is what I hear more than anything, is that people are asking, do I have to be a coach to attend? No, you do not have to be a coach. And then I'll also hear from most people, which I do see where they're coming from with this. Like it's intimidating. Everyone looks so fit and strong, and like I don't know if I'm going to fit in. Like literally everyone said that to me going into the first event, and everyone says it going into every event, and they come out saying I was wrong. So I'm like, everyone's been wrong so far. So trust that you also will be. Don't worry. Like this is the most fun weekend. And I I will say like I've hit PRs at every event, and I haven't even really gotten to take the classes. So if I'm able to channel that energy in like a 5 minute span of being in a class, I just can't even imagine what people are feeling when they're really immersed in the whole event.
Mhm.
So I also just think it's like great bang for your buck. It's
Oh,
not a high
yes, it
price
is.
point.
It is not a high
Yeah.
price point, considering
It's
most classes are 35, $40 a piece.
yeah, the value is you're paying about $10 a coach that we have in our lineup, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Um, and I mean, that's also why we have vendors and sponsors so that we can pay them their weight in gold, or at least closer to it, because I, it just blows my mind. Like the amount of talent and wisdom and experience in that room. I'm like, this is exactly why it's so much smarter to work as a team than individually. I could never, with the number of sessions I would take with Jared, I would never be Jared. Like, I could never do what he does with the kettlebell in the way that he juggles it. And I think that's what's so unique about a weekend like this is there's not only like just the most unbelievable talent, but then you get to stand next to them in the following class and they're a beginner right with you, like
Mhm.
learning something new with in the kettlebell sport class, and like maybe they're sweating on you a little bit too, and that's gross, but like you're reminded that they're human and they're not
Mhm.
a superhero. They're just like a person that's put in a ton of hours to become incredible at their skill. And it like that light at the end of the tunnel gets a lot closer. You're like, maybe I'm not that far away from achieving
Yeah.
all the things I want than I thought. having them in the same room and on the same gym floor as you really gives a different perspective to your fitness journey. So
Especially because on
yeah,
Instagram, we see the
the
highlights, so it
highlight
looks like, oh,
reels.
they're always there, and then you're seeing the whole picture.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say rubbing elbows with your all of your heroes and like getting to become friends with them and obviously learn from them, but then them learn alongside you and maybe even from you in the next event is just so surreal. And yeah, it gives much more purpose to being on the internet. The toxicity of social media is a little bit more tolerable when you see something beautiful sprout from it like this.
And for anyone who hasn't been there, I remember when I went, the thing that I noted most was everyone is very welcoming, like, oh, hi, I'm so and so, so you don't, even if you feel a little shy, other people there want to meet and welcome you, which is,
Yes,
that's the community vibe that you're talking about. It really is there, and people are genuinely excited to all be there together.
totally. I will say we it was really important to me to have that welcoming committee feeling at all of the events, mostly because I got one bad review from someone after Dallas, my second event. And I think this is important to speak on because it hasn't all been sunshine and rainbows. Like there's always going to be like those little hiccups that inspire you to do better um, in the future. And yeah, someone sent me an email and he was like, I did not feel welcome. Everyone seemed like they knew each other and I was the oddball and like no one greeted me. I guess whoever was manning the front desk was like in the restroom, so no one was there when he came in. And it was just like the perfect storm of like, it was just a butterfly effect of little things that happened for him throughout the weekend that made him off put. And I was like, okay, I have a proposition and totally no pressure to like use this for our next event. But whenever it makes sense, and maybe if it's ever in your hometown, I would love for you to come back so that we can prove to you that that was just not a great experience and we're never going to give you that experience again. We're going to do so much better. And I've reached out to all of the attendees that have happened to come like multiple times, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I would love to ask for you to kind of like take it upon yourself to like be a leader in a way because you have so much experience with coming to the event. You know what it feels like being the new person at the first one. Whatever you can do to make the people around you feel welcome, like it just means so much. And it could be the thing that totally makes someone's weekend is someone coming up to them and saying hello. And that's why the Miami event was like so perfect. I mean, it was a lot of people's favorite event for that reason, I think. Of
Mhm.
course, I had 103-degree fever, so it wasn't my favorite event. So I didn't actually know if it was going well or not. I was like, is
Uh-huh.
everything fine, everyone? Like, but yeah, the welcoming committee feeling was on for that event and for Denver too. And Denver was your first event, right?
Denver
Yeah.
was my
So,
first one.
yeah. So we definitely figured that one out. Yeah, like event number one, everyone was new. So we didn't have that issue. Just everyone
Right.
was meeting everyone. Event number two, we just have such high retention that like great, it's a great problem. But we had so many people returning that they were like, like I haven't seen you in 6 months. And then like the you know, 20 new people that were there, this one guy felt left out. And so it broke my heart, but I was like, damn it, I'm not going to let that happen again. We'll make sure
That's
that we
good.
do
I
better.
like that you didn't blow off his experience. You took it to heart,
Oh,
and
yeah.
because I guess
Yeah. I
he could
mean,
be one person, someone else might not have said anything. So in case anyone else felt that way,
yes. And I know that to be true because I know that I tend to be the person that I'm not going to send the email saying, I had a horrible time at your event,
right,
I'm just going to probably not go back. And
right.
so I was like, one person saying this probably means 4 or 5 people feeling this. So
Mhm.
let's definitely take this to heart and do better. And yeah, I mean, if it's supposed to be a family reunion, we also need to be a family that's willing to adopt new family members. So can't be closed off. This is all
Mhm.
chosen family to begin with. So yeah, I think like the way that people made friends the first event, like keep being open to keep making more friends. Like the coolest people are showing up at this event. Just be open to continuing to meet people and not establishing cliques, because that that is the beginning of the end.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
there's just I just love that you created this out of
Mm.
nothing, and in an industry like I said, that is pretty much dominate. All the big things are dominated by some guy, some guy coach creating it. So thank you. I
You're
have a
welcome.
question. My last question for you
Sure.
is, what advice would you give to somebody who, like you had an idea and it's like, oh, there's this that doesn't exist. I don't know where to start.
Oh, ah. I'm going to think like kind of specifically about it to help give me guardrails to answer this question.
Okay.
But I will say, if it's something that you're really passionate about, think of a problem that needs to be solved and then work backwards to figure out how best to solve the problem and your unique skill set that can help solve that problem. Um, I didn't necessarily see a problem in our industry necessarily, but I did see like a gap, and
Mm.
was like, I would love to meet all of these people that I've connected with. We don't have a particularly large kettlebell community in Atlanta. I am the teacher of all of them, pretty much. So I was like, I would love to just see who else is out there. I know that there are people, because there are like hundreds of people in my online kettlebell program. So if those people exist, I bet a lot of them would like to come. That'd be super cool to meet them. Um, but like not everyone has a pool of people to pull from like that.
Mhm.
If you're thinking of starting a class, I would highly recommend, first of all, staying very consistent with it. There are going to be some weeks that 2 people show up. The next week is when 40 people show up. So if you cut it after the week of 2, you'll never get the 40. And I promised myself that with this event, once I decided to do it, on a recurring basis. It's like there are going to be bad ones. You cannot quit on a low note. You can't. If you ever quit, you got to go out on top. Like a really good one to end it on. But I don't think it's
Like
happening.
Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I love that you're a Seinfeld fan. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the consistency, it's kind of a like, of course, that's the answer to the question, but um, stick with your guns, like stick with the plan long enough to actually see it through and watch the tree bear its fruit. Because if you quit when it hasn't even budded yet, like it's just, you're just gonna be starting over and starting over all the time. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people can become like addicted to change,
Mhm.
and I think you have to find something else to plant your obsession over change into, whether it's like social media posts or something else creative. And when it comes to your actual business, stick with your plan for a long time. And if
Mhm.
you just do that, you will see incremental growth. And it might actually be like viral growth, depends. But it's, I think, also knowing like when something isn't working. I I will say my failure to do one thing is what then caused the other. Or failure isn't the right term. I was building a fitness platform when I launched this event, and the platform went live and it was going great, but we lost our funding, And about 7 months after losing that funding, I had to make the call. Like, it's not a financially viable thing for us to be doing anymore.
Mhm.
Because it was way more expensive than it was worth at that point. And I poured a lot of energy into BellFest when I was twiddling my thumbs waiting for it to launch, because I was like, I'm going to mess this business up if I don't like pour my creativity into something else for the meantime. And that became BellFest, and then ended up actually being the thing that was more successful than the platform. So I think that's probably something else to take away, is like failure can be um, like a great launch pad for something else, and give you
Absolutely.
the right skill set and connections to make the next thing happen really well. It's how I got
Mhm.
linked up with the Ensemble team, who I work with now. I was doing my event ticket sales on their platform, and I poked around and I was like, they actually have a really cool platform that like serves coaches in a lot of different ways. And I mean, who knew that 2.5 years later, I'd be working with them in the same role I was working in for my platform. So, it is interesting how all these things work. But if I had never tried to do the thing that I had never accomplished before, I would have never met people to then bring me to this next project. So, keeping an open mind, not being too hard on yourself, being consistent, like controlling what you can control, and then not blaming yourself for the rest.
I
I
love
think
those lessons, how you
yeah,
might start on one thing, and it might not work out the way you want, but everything that you learned along the way brings you to something else, and you couldn't
absolutely.
do that something else without the first thing. So,
T- yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you and I talked about this on our call the other day, but um, my dream going into March 2020 was to own a gym. And trying for 7 months to try to find a space was like eating away at me. And I eventually threw in the towel, and I redirected my effort to a group fitness thing. I was like, what can I do that's just really simple, one piece of equipment, and kind of be my detox from the stress of trying to find a gym space? And I was like, I'll do a kettlebell class. Now it's my entire business, like from every angle. So, had I given up on myself entirely in the fitness space, I would not be doing any of what I'm doing now. And now I'm sitting in my own studio that I was able to do, 5 years later, little later than I wanted to, but in the way that I always wanted, just a small space to have my clients and be
mhm.
happy. So, yeah, being open to things not going exactly how you planned um, is probably the key to happiness in life.
It is, and then not
Yeah,
having the expectation, if it's not this, I'm not happy, but like, okay, so here
correct.
we are. What are we gonna do with it?
This is life. Like, take it or leave it. Yeah.
Maddie, thank you
That's
so
it.
much for sharing all about BellFest. Oh, all the details about BellFest and Madeleine will be in the show notes. Is there any, I guess, parting remarks you want to share with anyone before we hop off?
Parting remarks. Well, I would love for all of you to come to BellFest at some point. If you can't make it to Nashville, that's okay, but it is November 7th through 9th, so not too far away. And I do also believe you're going to have a 40% off code for them if they'd like to use that on their tickets. It'll be Tina Nash 40, and that will also benefit Tina. So, so if you buy your
I'll post that in
tickets
there.
with that, yeah, if you buy your tickets with that promo code, you can also support her as a coach, which would be great.
Woo!
Woohoo! Um, and gosh, I mean, I guess follow us on Instagram. Belfast Fam is the Instagram. And we'll put all those details in the show
In the
notes.
notes.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, I'd love to see everyone at a Belfast sometime soon. We're not
That's right.
going
We'll all be there
anywhere.
live.
we're going everywhere, but we're not going anywhere, if that makes sense.
Totally. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to y'all next week.
Yes, bye. Thank you.
I'm Coach Tina. For more information about how to work with me, head to ironstrongfitness.com and send me a message. I'll see you next time.